Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties. And thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. What did I say?
You want to start the show with a meeting? I feel like you need a little... Let's have a meeting.
What? You want to have a meeting already? Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Copiers Plus. Get everything you need up into the cloud. Copiers-plus.com.
Thanks to Empire Eats and Copiers Plus. They're amazing.
We're having a meeting.
We are.
What's the meeting?
I feel like you need like a little trank or something. You're very concerned about the shelf life of this podcast.
I mean,
look, what can we do?
Look, there's nothing we could do. There's nothing we could do. Today is one of those days where I know the minute I hit publish, it's going to be the minute I hit publish, I'm going to get a phone alert from Pete freaking Thamel because you know he's the one who's going to break it.
Not going to break it.
You don't think he's going to break it? Who's going to break it? Who's going to break it?
Who does Steve Newmark know?
You might know Pete Thamel. That's the thing. So here, all right, okay. Let me wrap my point and I'll tell you why it's Pete Thamel. Two reasons why. One public, one private.
Okay, you go, then I'll give you my answer.
So, yes, we're going to kind of go away from how I usually do these things.
Yes.
I'm just going to hit publish on the podcast. I'm not going to do the usual 2:00 premiere on YouTube because why wait at this point?
We're in a state of flux.
The date is the date. It is what it is. Hubert Davis, by all indications, looks like he's no longer going to be the Carolina coach. It's just a matter of when. What are the mechanics? Shelby Swanson, News and Observer, she'll join us in a little bit to kind of get into the mechanics of it all because they've tried this once before recently. It did not work out the way they wanted it to, and I'm afraid it's going to play out the same way with Hubert Davis. But here's why I think it's going to be Pete Thamel. This was the last appearance Thamel had. This was yesterday on ESPN with Reese Davis. Here is the segment. It's a minute clip.
Pete, what is the latest from North Carolina in the coaching situation with Hubert Davis?
Well, Reese, the Hubert Davis watch continues, as we reported yesterday here. His return as North Carolina's coach remains unlikely. The timing and the mechanics of that expected departure are still being hashed out. Right after this show on ESPN, North Carolina's women's team hosts an NCAA sub-regional there. Once that event is cleared through with UNC's administrators, expects more focus to be on Davis's situation. Look, Reese, as we said yesterday, there's not an expectation that UNC is going to fire Hubert Davis. I've been told that some type of orchestrated resignation has been discussed and is a potential outcome here for Hubert Davis and UNC. Davis did meet with the Tar Heel team yesterday. He did not tip his hand or give any clarity on the future. So for now, the Hubert Davis watch continues. We'll see if clarity comes in the upcoming days.
So we shall see. That was Pete Thamel with ESPN on Sunday. The reason why I think it's Pete Thamel is one, clips like this and how he's just laid it all out. Number two, I was talking to somebody about this on, it was Friday night, actually. It was Friday night. I was talking to somebody about this. And I was like, yeah, man, there's a lot of noise, this and that. And he's like, yeah, everybody's hearing the same noise. And the quote was, but you know how it goes. Once Pete Thamel puts it out there, all bets are off. So it's like, all right, like I'm pretty sure he'll be the one who breaks it, but you disagree. You disagree. Who will send me my alert today, Joe?
I'm going to put my money on either Greg Barnes or Andrew Jones for this specific reason.
Okay.
The hire will be Newmark's. Mm-hmm. That might be more of a national person.
Okay.
The firing is going to be an assistant who texts one of those two guys and says, it's over.
I see.
Like even I put out my text this morning, including the one person who I'm like, hey, you're not going to be part of it. Like me just speaking right now, you're not going to be part of the next regime.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if it's hit some of the people over there that's what's about to happen.
That is an interesting conversation that I've jotted down for future conversations.
Yeah. I'm laughing though at Pete Thamel. Like they're not firing him. Like they're trying to massage this thing.
I know.
No, given the choice with 4 years remaining on his contract, Hubert Davis would be the men's basketball coach at the University of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. It's not his choice.
Yeah.
And I can understand why yesterday was the day to let the women's basketball. For those who don't know, athletic departments are very sensitive to when their teams are either in an ACC championship or an NCAA tournament. They do not, which is why NC State to this day is still mad at me for breaking news about Kevin Keatts getting fired. Like they thought legitimately they could wait until Monday while they were playing in the ACC championship game that Sunday.
I understand.
In women's basketball.
I understand where they're coming
thing.
from. No,
that's a real thing.
And I understand. They want the focus to be on this team that is currently going through it right
particularly
now.
when they were hosting an NCAA tournament game yesterday.
That's a real thing, and I totally understand where they're coming from.
One of the texts I got back this morning was they sure are taking their time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so listen. This is fascinating because you have all of these moving parts. You have, starting with Bubba Cunningham, the old athletic director, being phased out by design and brought in for Steve Newmark, who will now be, in my opinion, this has to be the person who makes the hire.
Yes.
It has to be Steve Newmark. I know they put out some statement like, hey, or even Bubba's been communicating with national guys. We haven't made a decision yet. That's because Newmark doesn't talk to the national guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not giving anything away. I saw Steve Newmark at the ACC tournament because he's technically not on the clock yet.
Yeah.
Technically,
I think. He's kind of shadowing, right? Yeah.
So I saw him at the ACC tournament with probably one of his North Carolina friends.
Mm-hmm.
They were enjoying a beverage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Carolina's about to play. He was out in the crowd. Like, he didn't have his all access credential on. That was not his role that day. He was Steve Newmark, grew up in Chapel Hill, Carolina fan.
Just hanging out, having a good time.
So there's that dynamic. Then there's this dynamic of the football side, the financial portion of this equation. Because if you're Carolina, just as you had to overpay for Bill Belichick, which it didn't have to be Bill Belichick, I know there's a stigma around what's happening on their football side, but they worked actually in order on the football side. They said, we need to make a financial commitment and we're going to go out and get the best, who we believe will be the best possible coach.
It went beyond the coach because that financial commitment comes down to roster construction, assistants,
all those good things.
Yes, it requires an outlay of cash.
Significant financial investment.
Yes.
I'm not sitting here telling you that Carolina like scrimped in, cut coupons to put together their $14 million roster this year. But if they're going to get the coach who I believe would be the right coach for them, and that is Todd Golden at Florida, they're going to have to commit significant resources, not only to Golden, who makes $6.5 million at Florida.
Yeah.
Hubert makes less than $4 million a year.
Right.
Okay. You're going to have to pay Todd Golden $10 million a year to be your basketball coach. All right. Like, that's a significant move. They need to square. There's the big dynamic here for me is Lee Roberts and Steve Newmark. I believe, obviously, Lee Roberts was a driving force in hiring Bill Belichick. Obviously. I think Steve Newmark was more of a factor in that search than people realize.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think you now have to trust the two people who got the football search wrong. We can unequivocally say that, right?
We can unequivocally say that, but there's an out for those two people. There is an out.
Right.
That out is John Pryor. That John Pryor was the one who hijacked the Bill Belichick.
They publicly have done that, but I think Roberts was way more involved in it than Pryor.
I
agree.
I know what you're saying.
Right. The meeting in New York.
And I agree with what you're saying. But I'm telling you, the way the game is played, they have their out. And there could be some lessons learned. Also, that's football.
And who's taking the fall for that? Pryor's
taking the fall. Like I said,
right down to the lawsuit.
He's the one who's he's the one who's getting the blame for that. I also think when it comes to football, going back to John Pryor, who I think it was, he said it to Pat Welter over at REL, where he's like, I fucking tried, so fucking sue me. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but his general attitude was like, fuck all y'all. I tried. What can you say? Okay. That's football. They've been trying to get football right for a very long time.
But what I'm getting at is now you have to trust the two people who were part of a triumvirate who made a mistake in football to now get it right in basketball.
And I think the reason why it's a little bit different is that they understand. They understand that basketball is different. They understand that basketball is different than
They're
football.
also swimming in a different pool. I mentioned Todd Golden.
Yeah.
Kentucky couldn't get Nate Oates, right? Kansas is about to hire Jacques Vaughn, I bet you. They're about to hire their Hubert Davis.
Yeah.
Right? This whole thing has changed dramatically.
Yeah, it's not
the
same
entire
thing.
landscape of the last time Carolina had to hire a basketball coach has changed dramatically. And I think I'm going to give you some ages. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Because
you're jumping several steps.
That's fine. I just want to give you some ages because
there's a lot more to until we get to this point.
Oh, I'm trying to set the stage for you that the two people, Newmark and Lee Roberts,
Yes.
I think were chiefly involved in the football decision. I don't think the premise of their football decision was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they have to go back to the Carolina people on the basketball side and say, our premise was right. Now let us show you the premise and execution in the basketball search. Okay. And I think this search, I'm just going to give you a few ages because I think this kind of illustrates the point of where this has to go for North Carolina.
Okay.
And I think this also illustrates to us in football, Carolina football does not have the same cachet as Carolina basketball, regardless of what has happened in the last 5 years with Hubert Davis.
I mean, it's a no crap the magazine exclusive.
You still have to say it because there are other programs who could go out into this world and think, I can do this. And it's like, actually, Villanova, actually, no, you can't. Kentucky, no, you can't.
Yeah.
But Carolina, I believe, could. And I just want to give you some ages because this is where I think we're gonna get down away from some of the names that maybe some people think are going to be interested in this job or where they think Carolina might go. John Shire was 33 when he was hired by Duke. Mike Krzyzewski was 33 when he was hired by Duke. Dean Smith was 30 when he was hired by Carolina. Roy Williams was 37 when he was hired by Kansas. Hubert Davis was 50 when he took the Carolina job. Okay. I'm not saying age is everything here, but after the colossal mistake of hiring a 73-year-old, and again, getting back to some of Carolina's success in other sports, I think you go and you get a young coach here because now you're going to use this person not only as a breakaway from the Carolina family, but as this new building is coming, this is a new direction for your program. This is not something like the Pittsburgh Steelers did with Mike McCarthy, where you want to do it again in 4 years.
Yeah.
This is a decision that you want to get right, and you want to open up the new building in 5 years or whatever it's going to be, whatever that timeline ends up being.
Yeah.
It needs to be with this coach being the driving force behind that entire fundraising process that's going to have to take place. And I think that's what's going to help Steve Newmark and Lee Roberts in this process is they had the right construct on the football side. They just didn't hire the right person. And I think that's what could move them forward in this process.
Okay. I don't want to make this about football because honestly, it's a tired fucking conversation. The Bill Belichick conversation. I get your premise and you keep harping on Hubert Davis's age and things like that, but I think you're leaving out a crucial piece to all of this when it comes to Hubert Davis. It's what Roy Williams wanted.
It wasn't just Roy though. It was the former players as well. There was the family.
Where do they get their talking points from?
Hey, they didn't all play for Roy.
I get that, but Roy was the caretaker.
We had Bubba Cunningham. I'm not downplaying Roy's role in this. What I'm saying to you is we had Bubba Cunningham on our radio program after he hired Hubert Davis.
I know.
And you said, number one, you were like, what kind of grace will you give a first-year coach?
Yeah.
A first-time coach. And he was like, none.
Yeah, he said none.
And then the other part he told us, which of course was interesting, was he did call Mark Few.
Yes.
And let's go back to 2021. Mark Few was like, hey, guys, I'm about to have a monster team and I really want to win a national championship at Gonzaga.
Right.
Not coming. Jay Wright, who ended up retiring and getting out of this because he doesn't want to deal with any of this.
Doesn't want to deal with it. Right.
Okay. So Mark Few's 63, Jay Wright's 64. Okay.
I get all that stuff. All that stuff.
So I would go back on the Roy thing and the family thing. It wasn't just Roy. Roy obviously had a great vote in all this. But I think it was from a player to a player, there was a sense of this is the right thing to do in our family in a continuation.
Right. Which is why the whole age thing, I get what you're saying. I just feel like
the age
I feel like you're missing the overall storyline of Carolina basketball and how a lot of this stuff got its there's a lot of cues taken over how these things played out, right? And these are one for ones or the history rhymes thing, right? You had Dean Smith to Bill Guthridge. Guthridge was the caretaker. Guthridge was never going to be the long-term solution for Carolina basketball. Everybody understood that. That's why the clock was ticking. And it was just a matter of waiting for Roy Williams to be ready to come back and take the Carolina job.
Phil Ford was originally Dean Smith's choice. And he had a DWI, or two of them actually.
Two of them.
And was not able to, he lost his license. Phil Ford was actually Dean Smith's original choice. Because he knew the connection that Roy Williams had at Kansas and his reluctance to leave the Kansas job.
So the Phil Ford aspect comes into play as well here with Dean Smith. What does Roy Williams basically take most of his cues from? From Dean. Okay. So he found himself in the same situation. Former player who I want this guy to be the next coach. Okay. Also in the family, caretaker. Maybe he's not the long-term solution, but I want to make sure that he gets that job. I think we are hand waving a little bit how much Roy had influence on that coaching search. Hand waving a little bit how much influence he had. Beyond, I get what you're saying about the family and the players and all that kind of stuff. But if Roy wanted something after having won 3 national championships, Roy was going to get it. You see what I'm getting at?
Let's just go through a scenario. Let's go through an exercise.
Okay.
If Jay Wright in 2021 says, you know what? I've always wanted to coach out of blue blood. I've won 2 national championships at Villanova. You're right. The time is right. I want to go coach North Carolina.
But okay, now we're being that's been long enough. I can say this. It's been long enough. I can say this. Bubba knew he had to call those guys. He knew those guys weren't coming.
I know. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is
he just broke off those calls because he knew he had to.
There was no other choice, is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like at the time, there was really no other choice with Bill Guthridge. Okay, it was going to be this, and then it'll be the caretaker. My point here is let's focus on what I'm really getting at here. Hubert was the caretaker, straight up. He was always going to be the caretaker. He was going to be the bridge to whatever Carolina was going to be next. It was never a long-term solution for Hubert Davis. He was never the long-term solution. Right down to the fact that everybody knew he got that job because Roy wanted to make sure he got that job. I mean, heck, I'll pull up Jeff Goodman, Field of 68, when he was talking about this. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the overall, the full thing he's saying, that Hubert never wanted the job. But it does highlight how that thing came about. Here's Jeff Goodman on Field of 68.
Fine with it. You know, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize is Hubert didn't really want this head coaching job. Like, this was something that was brought to him. Roy Williams picked him, and you can't say no. You can't say no. So Hubert took this job as a beloved former player, as a beloved former ESPN employee, and as a beloved assistant coach at North Carolina, and nobody's ever uttered a bad word about him. And now he's getting crushed year after year after year. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's all on board with it as well. You know, give him his buyout. It's about almost $500,000, and move on.
Which is nothing for.
Well, we'll get to the money aspect of that. Jeff Goodman says he got crushed. Yeah, he did get crushed, just like Bill Guthridge got crushed, because the through line is the same. Both instances were the hires or the positioning of those guys in that job when most people understood that's not the guy who will have this job for an extended period of time. You see what I'm getting at? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So from the jump, Hubert was already on borrowed time, because people didn't really want him to have the job in the first place. In the same way that people didn't want Bill Guthridge to have that job in the first place, because Roy was out there. And in the case of Hubert Davis, it's not a Roy, it's more of those delusions of grandeur. Brad Stevens, right? Or like you said, Jay Wright might come back. Instead, where I think you and I will agree, though, is that Carolina is about to go through a massive identity change with this next hire. Okay, which I think is a good thing, going back to the mailbag last week. The question is the money. And this is something that I think needs to be cleared up, right? Are they broke or are they not? Are they stretched thin or are they not? Like, I'm reading Matt Norlander at CBS over the weekend, and all of a sudden it's going from, well, there's some concerns about financial strains because of all the commitment that was given to football and what it takes to actually put the roster together. And it could be read one of two ways. Either they really don't have that money, or they don't want to give that money to Hubert. I find it very hard to believe that Carolina is financially strained right now. Very hard to believe that. Do they have as much money as Duke? No, they don't have as much money as Duke. But this gets back to, like, what are you shopping for? Are you shopping for the $5 million house? Or are you shopping for the $3 million house? They're both out of my price range, but we're really talking about two different things here, right? So I'm more inclined to believe that they do have the money. They just don't want to spend it with Hubert Davis anymore. Speaking of Matt Norlander, I go back to the conversation we had with him last offseason, where I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically made it sound like, in order with Jim Tanner as a general manager and putting this roster together, that Hubert Davis had to go talk people into giving him money. Think about that. You have to talk to Carolina boosters about giving you money for basketball, your bread and butter, the thing that you love, the thing that you identify as your thing with the school, like, right? So I found that very strange, which tells me, goes back to my ultimate point with Hubert Davis. The money never wanted him, but they did it out of obligation. And now Hubert's opened the door for him. That's why I said we've jumped up a couple steps before we start talking about who the next coach is. Because 3 weeks ago, we're not talking about this. 3 weeks ago, because I had some people like, oh, you changed your tune. I'm like, well, 3 weeks ago, they had a good regular season. You had the idea that Caleb Wilson was going to come back, and that with Caleb Wilson's return, this could be a Sweet 16 team, all things considered, if the bracket breaks your way.
If not a Final Four team.
Maybe. I mean, who's to say? Yeah. Who's to say? All right, well, he gets hurt again. He's out. And I'm convinced, and you cannot break me off this point, that all of the things that ultimately got the money people to not put their arms around Hubert Davis came to a head after they lost that game on Thursday night, and he had the press conference that he did. That press conference was so bad, and it highlighted all the other instances in which he has been head in the sand on a lot of things and not representative of what you want as a head coach, right down to, if he's like that here, what's he like behind the scenes? If I'm giving you this money, are you going to do what I ask you to do? I mean, he was combative over bringing a general manager on. Yeah. And I can see where all those things finally came to a head, and that ultimately flipped it. It was such a public-facing misstep by Hubert Davis. It gets back to what I said in the mailbag real quick. He never played the game, or he was bad at playing the game. Either one, however you want to frame it. The point is, he didn't play the game the right way, and because he didn't play the game the right way, he had no more allies, no more friends to back him, in the media included. I'm not even talking about the boosters, just the boosters, but also in the media, that now you're here, and now we're discussing when, not if, he's the coach.
There's one thing you're missing.
Okay.
And it is related to football.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Dean and Roy saved the University of North Carolina so much money for so many years.
Yes.
Roy Williams did not have an agent.
Yes.
Wanda was in charge of his finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He never asked for a raise. He made enough money from Nike. He made enough money from the school that he never wanted his market value and was never paid his market value. So the decision last year to hire the GM, to expand their analytical staff, to expand their revenue share, to expand their budget, to build a roster, those decisions were institutional decisions. That gets back to the football decision, which was also an institutional decision.
Yeah.
This is the required amount for us to invest in to become a power in football, to be a power player in football. North Carolina forever has been the Tampa Bay Rays, or pick a small market team, the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
Pick one.
Right.
That's what they've been for all of these years. I say this to you all the time. They do not know how lucky they were to have Dean Smith.
No, I agree with you.
They do not know how lucky they were to have Roy Williams for a lot of different reasons. But primarily, those two guys won at a financial level that was probably like the equivalent of a top 25 team, a top 50 team. Like we know all about Kentucky's investments and all the money that they spend, and a lot of that is like some squeaky wheel shit, right? Because they want to tell you how much money they've spent. They want the attention, right? North Carolina has not wanted that type of attention. So the commitment in football was the first time for me that you saw UNC say, it's not necessarily a magic bullet coach, which we've been blessed to have for a lot of years in a lot of different sports, by the way. Like, if you don't think Anson Dorrance did it on a shoestring budget, you're crazy. The guy had to run like 90 million camps to make fucking ends meet.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like, there's a reason that there was like 17 weeks of soccer camp so that the guy could, keep the lights on.
So what you're getting at, though, is this is the real hard conversation that people are going to have to
that is there's a financial component of this now that never existed before because you had the magic bullet coach.
Which also means, and I hate saying this, I really do hate saying this, I am sensitive to this particular topic. It is going to require cleaning house on basketball. You're going to have to rid yourself of people who have the attitude of, well, when we used to do this with Roy, or when we used to do this with Dean, we've been able to win with XYZ. like to your point, we did this in a way with a coach that was able to do it. So why can't we just find another coach who's been doing
Couldn't
it
do
the
it
same
that way too.
Because it doesn't
And find
work.
recruits who love the shorts and love Michael Jordan and get
Because
wowed by the Jordan wall.
It doesn't work that way anymore.
Does not.
It's, in fact, to the people who are like, well, where's Jordan's financial commitment? I don't know if you knew this or not, but Michael Jordan's a NASCAR guy now. Like, Michael Jordan's only interested in winning things right now, and his investment is all in NASCAR right now, where he continues to do well. My point is that you're going to have to bring in an entirely new staff and a new way of doing things, and you're going to have to clear the way and not have people in that building that are going to get mad
fight you.
and are going to fight you because of this is how we always did things. This is not Matt Doherty coming in and firing the longtime secretary, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're well beyond that. If you want to be back to being serious about basketball, if you want to not be left behind, it's going to require things like, and again, I hate saying that because over the years, we know all these people. We know those connections. And we're about to watch a Carolina basketball program that is foreign to what we've known it to be. But it has to be that. It has to be that.
And I think that's why Todd Golden is the one that makes the most sense for this. I think it has to be someone who's done it before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're going to make the investment, which I do believe it will take $10 million, he makes $6.5 at Florida.
So you're not talking about the Iowa State coach. You're not talking about Byington over at Vanderbilt.
TJ Otzelberger or Mark Byington, I think if they land there,
Good coaches.
it could work.
Sure.
Could. There's a could.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they'll be offensive minded. They'll play with an identity that you probably recognize. I think people will be excited to see something new, see something different. But this is where you got to lean on being one of the 3 best jobs in college basketball, if not one of the 2 best jobs in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want coulds. I want Woods, and I want it's already been done, and I already know it. And that's Golden at 41, who's will be 42 this summer. Like that's your answer.
Yeah.
That's your answer. You're not paying Bill Belichick for what he was. You're paying an actual national championship coach for what he is. And he's done it in this era. And I to me, that's where you make this work. And to your point about coming in and replacing people, it doesn't have to be scorched earth. No, I'm saying in terms of like, you can still have a relationship with your family. They should encourage that.
Sure.
But it's going to be a departure.
It is.
And I would absolutely encourage Todd Golden to make sure he has a UNC on his staff, a former UNC player on his staff.
I don't know if that's needed.
I do.
I don't know if that's needed. Where you and I will agree is fostering a relationship that helps shape the conversations around Carolina basketball. Because that is the other thing that I had jotted down about, what changed, right? What changed for Hubert Davis over the course of the last 3 weeks? I have my opinions on it, but clearly he lost the former player contingent too. It's a lot for Joel Berry to do a public radio hit and essentially be like, yeah, man, it might be time for a change. Theo Pinson has a lot of influence over what Carolina fans think. Okay.
Agree.
And when Theo Pinson is like, I woke up still mad. Like, oh, okay. There's no like, hey guys, it's a tough one. There's this, there's that. Like, there's enough conversation out there from what I would consider influential voices of the Tar Heels, people who played national champions, that are in the most possible way they can be publicly out on Hubert Davis. You see what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is more important than putting somebody on the staff. To me, it's more about, are you on the same page with the ecosystem that exists around the Tar Heels and the podcasters? And there's a lot of visible former Tar Heels that shape opinion on these things. So that's important.
I was disappointed in Will Wade when he didn't put an NC State guy on the staff. So there's plenty of options out there.
Sure.
I just think you always want to have one person who understands the school. You always have to have one person who really understands the school. Now, in this day and age, maybe it's a GM. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I think, it's a wholesale change that's coming for them. And if they do it the right way, as I like to tell you people, if something good could happen for Carolina, like how the fuck does Florida lose to Iowa? Like Iowa?
Right.
Come on. Not Iowa State. Iowa.
Well,
I try to tell you people, if something good
be.
could happen.
Might be some Carolina fans that ask that same question and say, why do we want him as the head coach?
No, because he won the championship.
I'm joking. I'm joking. That is going to exist. There will be people out there that will look past the fact that he actually won a national championship and be like, yeah, but. And also, you got to remember, Florida is unlike a lot of programs out there in terms of how they're able to. Now, mind you, they haven't necessarily been good at football for a very, very long time. But for the longest time, Florida and Texas were viewed as these unicorns that, why can't North Carolina do that exact thing? Right. Why can't North Carolina be good at basketball and football in the same way that Florida had been good at football and basketball, or Texas, how they've been good at, shit, man. Speaking of things that you want to take back a little bit, what we got wrong, look at Texas making it to the Sweet 16. Look at the middle brother getting nice.
I had Sean beating State, so I'm not sure what I got wrong there.
Well, no, I didn't expect them to get past BYU, but here we are. Housekeeping is brought to you by our friends at Enovana. You can check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
I would like to direct you to the secret stash. Go to the OG.shop. Again, that's the OG.shop. In fact, like last week, somebody asked, hey man, where's that, where can I get that shirt with the drinking buddies on it? Secret stash. Head on over, the OG.shop. Also, be on the lookout for OG Lime. Mikey P, who's done a lot of great designs for us over at the Secret Stash, is designing the can for OG Lime. You're going to love it. It looks very, very good. Should get approval this week. And then the canning run for OG Lime should make it available by Cinco de Mayo. I'm very excited about this. White People Taco Night is about to take another level, Joe. So get your shredded lettuce, get your diced tomatoes, get your onions, get that 4-cheese Kraft Mexican. Like, it's about to go down with OG Lime. Let's freaking go. And, of course, the OG Birthday Bash will have OG Lime. That's going to be May 2nd at noon at Shady's, a.k.a. the Jonathan Rand pregame show. As he gets married later that day, Giglio and I invited to said wedding, and we are going to be hammered by the time we get there. Very excited about this. And, of course, we can't do this at Shady's without our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. I dropped by Bailey's this weekend for their watch event.
Let's see it. Are you wearing it?
No, I had to order it. They didn't have it.
Okay.
They did not have it in. They did not have it in stock. In fact, most of the Casio G-Shocks, I think they only had 2 left. But they were. Let's put it this way: they were not on a podcaster's budget. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Anyway, I had a really
doesn't mean you couldn't find something, right?
No, I did find something. Okay. I did find they had the G-Shock that I was looking for, the BX 5600, which is like the new updated memory and pixel G-Shock that I've been having my eye on. So it's been hard to get, but they're like, not a problem. We can special order it. Do not worry. So that's customer service. It's the same customer service that I've had at Bailey's ever since I bought Kelly's engagement ring all those many, many years ago. The store changes, and they've done a lot of changes inside that spot in the Village District, but the customer service remains. I got to get you out there just so you could see some of these watches, and then even more so, get you some bourbon, and then you're just going to fall asleep on the couch.
Man.
It's a total vibe.
I could definitely feel like the Naga high, and I can smell it.
They also, I looked at some of their records. I did not realize, now they don't specialize in records, obviously, but as a callback to the old Bailey's back in the day where they used to carry all these things. So Fox and Bailey's kind of like this mashup of a variety of different things with a nod to the past, obviously. And I knew they had some records. I didn't realize they had incredibly rare records. We're talking like original pressing, factory sealed Beatles records. Okay.
Holy smokes.
These are not easy to find. They are there. They have them. I was like, oh, wow. Now, I don't have that kind of cash. I'll take my dad's old beat up Beatles records. But if you are looking for that specific kind of thing, they've got it at Bailey's. So check it out at baileybox.com. Again, that's baileybox.com. Also, big thanks to our friends at Roback. Check them out online at roback.com. Even the 14-year-old's all about it. It's funny. Jacob was wearing a Roback hoodie this weekend for their high school club hockey stuff. And he just, without prompting, he goes, can we get more Roback? I go, well, yeah, why? He's like, because these are really good. This is like easily my favorite hoodie. Not just because it says Junior Canes on it. He goes, no. It's just like the most comfortable hoodie I have.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I got you. So even the kids like it. Think about that. It's tough to get your kids to openly admit, I like this piece of clothing. That's the beauty of Roback. So check them out online, roback.com. Use that promo code OG20. Again, that's OG20 to save 20% off your order. They even have bathing suits. Didn't know if you knew that or not.
I did not know that.
They have bathing suits. Something to check out. Check out MillerLending.com. I might need to hit up Gordon Miller to take a cash out refi so I can buy factory sealed original pressing Beatles records to go along with that Ren Silva console that is gorgeous in person, by the way, at Bailey's. It was fantastic. Anyway, if you want to fund your hopes and dreams, got to take cash out of your house, they can do that. MillerLending.com, 919-447-3377. Just contact them. Have the conversation. There's a lot of uncertainty right now as it relates to the rates, and get an actual expert opinion on where things currently stand and where they could be in the future. And then just have that there so that when the rates do come down and it's the right time for you to refinance, you are ready to go. So hit them up online at MillerLending.com. Again, that's MillerLending.com. Cookie Monster did not last long in my house. Did not last long.
The blue was the real sell there, right?
Yeah, the blue was the sell. I had one evening of it, and then the kids destroyed the rest of that, and the mint Oreo fudge as well. They destroyed that as well. And since it is March, a lot of brackets are busted right now. I know, as we talked about, a lot of Carolina fans are going through it right now. Maybe even some Duke fans were, as we're going to talk about here in a second, maybe you're stress eating, right? Maybe you're stress eating. Well, if you're going to stress eat, you might as well do it the right way with Two Roosters. Hit them up online, tworoosters.com. Better yet, just go to one of their stores. Weather's been fantastic. It is prime ice cream weather. You know, I do want to ask Jared, because he always does it ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went out to my car this morning, I want to ask him, does pollen ice cream? Does that ice cream?
Went to Norfolk on Saturday morning, come back, and the cars that were left behind were just covered.
Dude,
covered.
It is. My eyes are gritty right now. Just straight grit in my eyes. So does it, like, you could do like a honey-based type thing, right? Does it pollen? I don't know. Just a thought, Jared. I just want to throw that out there. Anyway, get like actual flavors that sound appetizing. Go to tworoosters.com. Joe, you're slipping, bro. You're slipping.
I'm mad when I got mad at myself.
You're slipping.
Not mad, disappointed. I had a wake stat. I had a state stat.
Uh-huh.
I did not
Indianapolis.
have this. I did not have this. I'm embarrassed, actually. I'm actually embarrassed.
This was sent to us by a few listeners from a Twitter account called Onyx Odds. It's got a yellow check mark, so you know it's real. Crazy but true. Duke has never won a national championship without beating St. John's. 90-91, they beat them 78-61. 91-92, 91-81. 2001, they won 91-59. 09-10, they beat them 80-71. 14-15, 77-78. And to be determined Friday night, 25-26, they will see Rick Pitino and St. John's with an opportunity for Tar Heel for life. Ian Jackson on the scene. Just saying. He's there. I know this is not like an Elliot Cadeau type situation. He's there. I get it. But that's where we're at. I'm disappointed, Joe. You did not have a St. John stat for me.
I let you down.
It's okay. It happens.
It happens. I had a Wake stat. I had a state stat. I had an Indianapolis stat. I had it all.
I know. But two things are there. You have the Indianapolis, and now you have the St. John's thing. And we can oversimplify Duke's games to get to the Sweet 16, and before Duke fans fire up the OG Sports phone, understand what I'm saying. Cam Boozer, statistically, still looking pretty good in the box score. But when you watch Cam Boozer, and this goes back to Charlotte at the ACC tournament, the championship game, Cam Boozer doesn't look himself, okay? Now, we can oversimplify and say the lack of Patrick Gungba has finally caught up to Cam Boozer.
That's not oversimplifying it.
You think that's the answer?
It's actually not oversimplifying it.
You think that's it, straight up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see a player at times that's looked a little tentative. I looked, look, there's also the possibility of a freshman wall. He's been so consistent and so great all season. At some point, you're going to have a little bit of a drop off. And again, understand what I'm saying. The little bit of a drop off for Cam Boozer is still really freaking good. And as we saw in the TCU game, in that second half, he was absolutely instrumental in overcoming a slow first half to dominating in the second half. It was 44-44 with 14 minutes to go in this game against TCU. And I'm at my parents watching this. I brought my equipment with me just in case, because we were in Duke Loss After Dark protocols. So I had my stuff on me to go into my dad's office if needed. But Duke finally started to look like the team that we thought they would look like against TCU, which was outmatched, just physically outmatched. Something that Jamie Dixon after the game admitted, with some nods to the officiating, but ultimately admitting, look, man, at the rim, in the paint, they're just too much.
Are you okay if I pull something up on
Yeah.
I won't use the audio.
You're good to go.
Because I was watching this game on Saturday, right?
Yeah, it was on Saturday.
And I thought to myself, I saw that he had 2 points in the first half, and I'm thinking to myself, what is the problem here? Why are we struggling so much?
Yeah.
Because I know I got into it online with some people about how he played against Siena. They're like, well, he had 22 and 13 against Siena. Sir,
Right, watch the game.
Sir, he should have had like 48 and 22 against Siena.
Yes.
If he was playing at his clip.
Yes.
Okay. That game did not have Gungba. In the first half against TCU, he had 2 points. I'm just going to point to this guy right here. I don't even know if I need to play the clip for you.
Yeah, don't play the clip.
Do you see how big this guy is?
Yeah.
The person who's playing defense on Gungba.
Yeah.
They're going to help with the white guy. They're going to help.
Mm-hmm.
This player is bigger than this player.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving you this in-depth analysis because when Gungba's on the floor, this player guards Gungba.
Yeah.
When Gungba's not on the floor, this bigger player guards Boozer. And then what happens here, they get an easier post entry because it's a smaller player. And then the help comes from the backside. Again, it's a smaller player that he can power through. If I hit play, he ends up scoring and getting it again and one. But he gets that because he's able to power through
it.
those smaller players. When you take Gungba off the floor, not only are you getting him with the bigger player starting on him, but then the second player who helps him is also going to be the player who's the primary defender in this freeze frame here. So, and mind you, it's 47-44 at that point. I didn't love the missed goaltend.
Yeah.
I didn't love the technical foul on Jamie Dixon.
Yeah.
I thought all of those things were true.
They're all true.
But I also thought in the second half of this game, again, you're seeing Duke apply the lessons from the regular season. Previous to that, they had a nice timeout after TCU had a run.
Yeah.
John calls a play, literally gets Cam Boozer open for a wide open layup. I don't know what anyone else wants out of John Shire this year other than to say, hey, man, losing to Houston the way that we did sucked. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use that in my own catalog, in my own brain, and prepare my team better. I don't think there's any shadow of a doubt. Every step of the way this season, the Florida game, the Michigan game, name it, you name it, even the Texas Tech and Carolina losses, I would argue, they were in position to win those games.
They were, yeah.
They did not execute, as opposed to the way that they frittered the game away against Houston last year. Are we about to see one of the all-time redemptive arcs?
Maybe.
In the NCAA tournament?
We'll see. Because the thing about, I get what you're saying. There are moments in the game. Gungba only played 13 minutes in this game.
I know.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
Only 13 minutes. Okay.
And that's why that first half was as dicey as it was.
I get that.
And I think John
they also turned the ball over 17 freaking times.
They were totally out of sorts.
Okay.
Until the technical and right before the technical, when they really started to assert themselves, which is why I'm not chalking this up like to officiating or whatever. I got a lot of texts, by the way, from Duke fans and Carolina fans about like the officiating in this game is horrendous.
Oh, it was awful.
And it was not like, oh, it's pro Duke. It was like,
no, it was
if
bad.
they call games this way, Duke has no chance.
None.
Like they cannot call the games this way.
And this is what I get to. 44-44, 14 minutes to go. You highlighted it when it was 47-44. Duke starts to pull away in that situation. They finally get it to 57-50 with about 10 minutes to go. That's when the game truly broke. They go on a 13-0 run, and that's where the game ultimately breaks. But I get what you're saying about Gungba, but let's keep in mind he only played 13 minutes of this game. They had 17 turnovers A lot of those
Sloppy.
were just sloppy play.
Yeah.
And that's why I get to, there's an oversimplification to what we've seen out of Duke so far. The Siena game, man, tale as old as time. Tale as old as time, where you got a group of dudes who are gunning for you straight up. And the game plan from Jerry McNamara, which we'll get to a little bit later, your next coach of Syracuse, was to just take it to them. They banged threes. They almost pulled that thing off. I expected Duke to look sharper coming out against TCU in the second game based on the scare of their life. They were not sharp. Gungba aside. And I'm not saying like I'm worried about Duke going forward. It's been a slog here as of late, right? You go through the ACC tournament. You have the possibility of a freshman wall that you're hitting. You're still missing Caleb Foster. And there are some ups and downs that go along with it. Although I do think that Caden Boozer has been the better Boozer here over the last 2 weeks, if you think about it.
I agree.
Right? So that's been a positive development.
If Hamenya, Sarr, both players helping them tremendously.
Sarr has been tremendous. Isaiah Evans was tremendous in both games as well, hitting shots where he needed to do it. So we're getting that collective effort that everything needs to work right for Duke. And yes, I understand if they're going to win the national championship, they do need Gungba back. So that was a positive to see with his 13 minutes. Hopefully he'll be fully 100%. We'll get more of this. And he's in shape, game shape, like true game shape against St. John's. All I'm saying, though, is that I've been a little bit of a, is he pushing through it? Is he trying to do too much? Is the Gungba factor, him not being on the floor, finally catching up to Boozer, not in the sense that teams can double him, teams can be more physical with him. Is he in his head trying to do too much without Gungba there too? And maybe his return helps in this case. I think we can all agree, though, that Boozer hasn't necessarily looked like the Boozer of the regular season, the best player in college basketball the last 2 weeks.
He has been in his head in this very specific sense. He's had a tendency to, he's been tentative to shoot the three. Particularly in the Siena game, I thought, they're giving you that shot. That's actually in your bag. And he didn't want it.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, you're not playing with the right confidence right now. And obviously that extended through the first half. Jamie Dixon's a really good coach, by the way. I thought TCU mixed a little bit of zone. They did the classic Virginia, we're doubling the post. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They basically doubled him every time he touched the ball. And that's a smart strategy, in my opinion, make somebody else beat you. Duke's learning how to have that other person beat you. That's what they're doing. But they need Boozer, like, they need the old Coach K, like, Coach K was famous for lighting you up and giving you the JJ Redick is still mortally wounded, like from his freshman year. We didn't win the national championship because you weren't committed. You were committed. Basically, I mean, you could hear that talk, right? Hey, dickhead, you're the fucking reason we didn't win. Just so you know.
So
Like,
Boozer.
But
do you think Coach K has texted Carlos? Carlos, your son.
But Coach K was also very good at picking his players up.
Yeah.
Brian Zubek, notably in that 2010 season, he was loving that Zuby up. And that's what he would do. He would show you clips. This was a winning play. Yeah. Hey, this screen helped us win. Hey, this rebound helped us win. And you show them the clips. You show them all the things of the way that you made plays to help us win. That's what I think Cam needs. He needs like a highlight. He needs our guy Webb Wellman to make him a mixed 1-and-1 mixtape right now of all of his greatest hits from this year, because it does, including him being more aggressive and being more confident from the outside in particular.
We saw a little bit of that from Shire on court, right, with the interview process. And I do think you'll see, I think that thing that you're talking about will be a point of emphasis for Boozer going forward. But that's it. I'll give you credit. You called your shot a month ago that you did not expect anybody beyond Duke to make it past the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. And here we are with only Duke in the Sweet 16. Miami coming up short. Virginia with a little bit of controversy there at the end with the review.
There's not going to be an ACC team not named Duke in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. There's just not. Okay. That's why I'm saying the Michigan
did not play Michigan in here.
That's why I'm saying the Michigan game continues to carry importance for all of the reasons that we said at the time, and it's only magnified now because of the way that the league has essentially fallen apart, Joe. Look around at the league.
I'm not really concerned with the league at this point. Much like last year, I wasn't all that concerned with the league, with the way that Duke was beating the ACC, and it wasn't as good as an ACC, and they got all the way to the Final Four.
See, I was trying to give you your credit there too.
Mm-hmm.
I did your favorite thing though. I could see the look on your face. I woke up this morning and I'm like, I gotta find that.
You only do it. I love when you only do it for those types of things.
I included your excellent point as well.
No.
I could have just cut it off at.
My point is, I guess the difference between you and me is we get just as much wrong as we do right. That's all I'm saying. And you love
Our percentage is better than that.
I would say it's about a 50-50 clip if we rang them all up. Now, I will say that people they remember the misses more than they do the rights,
absolutely.
Right? They always remember the misses. Okay. And never,
including in that same episode, I'm like, watch Duke. They'll have the easiest path ever. And I'm like, so no one's going to lose on your side. Meanwhile, like, what is Houston doing? Like everyone's going to lose in Houston's bracket. Right.
Right.
It's like,
right.
What is happening right now?
Right.
I'm just,
right.
It's like an out of body experience.
Now,
I do not think St. John's has the size to bother Duke, by the way. I just don't.
I didn't think TCU had the size to bother Duke too. And yet,
but it was still a 20-point game.
I know at the end, the end ended up being a 20-point game. Well, look, here's the thing about Duke. I'll give them credit. They've been a second half team all year. Yeah. They were a second half team against TCU. They did look more themselves in the game against TCU. Yeah. Well, just in general.
Yes.
Right? Like, hey, man, you're pushing and pull. There's some things here and there. The turnovers were still too much. Don't get me wrong, but they did look like the second half team, and they were up 20 points with 5 minutes to go. I mean, that game was lights out at that point, and that's when my dad gave me the overly complicated wine, and I just called it a night the rest of the night. My dad loves some really
overly complicated.
My dad loves some really complicated reds, man. Like,
what does that mean? There's more than like one ingredient?
No. It's like when I say an overly complicated red, that's the old. It's like wines that insist upon themselves.
Okay.
Right. They're probably super expensive. They probably come from some exclusive wineries. From
I know your dad's taste when it comes to certain bottles. Yeah.
I find them to be too heavy, and typically they're ones that give me headaches. I'm more of a, if we were to get into it, more of a Rosado guy. There's a light red because I can pound those.
Has your dad ever just given you the blind taste test so that you don't go in with a certain mindset of him, or does he always like, Joey?
Oh, no.
I spent $8,000 on this bottle, which then triggers you.
Yes.
See?
Yes. No, that's exactly what it is. And I can tell
if he were just to pour it for you. I think.
No. My dad loves to brag about where the wine came from and how expensive it was. And I would tell him, and I can go to Wine Authorities there right next to Two Roosters and get you a $20 bottle of wine that is just as good. Right. But it's the story. It's the story. Yeah. It's like, hey, man, Wright Thompson said that to me one time years ago when we were talking about Pappy Van Winkle, right? You can just drop thousands of dollars on Pappy, right?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but I could also go to Longleaf and get you a 1 ounce pour of this, it'll cost you $12 or whatever it is. And it's just as good. But Wright said, yeah, but it's the story, which is why, going back to Bailey's real quick, there was a guy who was looking at a watch that was $32,000.
Okay.
And I'm like, but it just tells time, like my G-Shock. That's not $32,000. Sure. It's a fraction of the cost. It tells time. Yeah, but there's a story to it. And there's mechanics to it.
This gold watch.
And this gold watch was up my rear end the entire time. So
I get it died of dysentery.
To get it to you. Hey, real quick, you sent this to me. You don't want to like Virginia, huh? This was this was down the hall into Ritter after the game. Because what 30 seconds to go, there was a challenge about who the ball went off of. They ruled.
It looked like it went off of the Tennessee player's head. It pretty clearly looked like it did.
Yeah. Again, I can't play the clip because I'll get flagged by the rights holders. It's whatever. But this is where Virginia's like, hey, man, it is what it is.
The out of bounds call with the challenge. Do you know if you touched it, or what? Did you get any kind of explanation on that play?
Yeah, it happened pretty quick. I knew it hit me barely. So hopefully, unfortunately it worked out the way it did. It was super fast play, but there was a lot of opportunities, and it never comes down to one play.
So there you go.
Once you live by the Mormon code, you always live by the Mormon code. The honesty, man. Like, you can't be in that
Are
school.
you sure you want to be talking about that?
No.
When
The BYU code.
When the secret lives of Mormon wives have been in the news.
And BYU loses some players over that code, man. So you got to live by it.
And sometimes you lose the Bachelorette because of those codes. You know? So it is what it is.
No, but people, Virginia fans,
Yeah.
who have completely forgotten how they won the 2019 championship,
Mhm.
including a totally blown travel call where they should have never been in a position to be in the national championship game,
Yeah.
had the audacity yesterday to be like, well, we would have won that game if it wasn't for that challenge being incorrect.
Well,
And then there's
There it is.
there's your Boy Scout. There's your Latter-day Saint coming through and with his honesty.
And last point before we move on, related to the ACC and getting back to how many ACC teams are going to be in the NCAA tournament, as you know, in the Sweet 16. It's interesting in that I think we can all agree that the ACC had a better year this year.
Mhm.
Okay. And we can all agree that with some of the coaching changes, you look at some bright futures, or you can see the direction these things are going, right? Like if you're an ACC fan, hell, if you're a Miami fan, all 5 of you out there, including my dad, enjoy Jay Lucas while you can. Enjoy Jay while you can. I don't expect him to be at Miami for a very, very long time. As we discussed at the ACC tournament, regardless of how Virginia got bounced out of the NCAA tournament, I think we can all agree that Ryan Odom is a real one.
Man, a really good hire.
Great addition to the ACC. Luke Locke's there at the end with Florida State. You started to see what he was trying to do. Be curious to see how he grows from that position. Will Wade, I think, look, all reckoning discussions aside, I think they're going to go back to the drawing board. They'll be much better next year now that they understand what the ACC is all about. And then you look at Jerry McNamara getting hired by Syracuse with what he did at Siena and turned them around real quick. You kind of like the direction of the ACC. And because they weren't so terrible this regular season, they didn't get banged on all season long. And I think sometimes you just look at the NCAA tournament and you go, them's the breaks, right? There's a larger conversation we could have about the Cinderellas, which we can do in the lightning round. But specific to the ACC, not a great NCAA tournament so far for the entirety of the league when you just have Duke left. Old timers will tell you, including me, that's how it's usually been, where Duke and Carolina have been the ones that have carried the flag for the ACC more often than not, getting further in the NCAA tournament, making the ACC look good. But I do think there's some higher expectations, especially when you see other conferences with multiple teams. Although it will be funny, how many teams does the Big Ten have?
In the Sweet 16?
In the Sweet 16? Including what would be one of the worst football games I'd ever want to watch between Iowa and Nebraska.
Yeah.
Corn, baby. Let's go. Either way, it's going to be really, really funny when none of these teams win the NCAA tournament. Big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm. I'm sure he's been sweating some Duke. Did you think? We got text with Matt, see if he's doing okay. We got a text with him on that. You got to text with Matt to see if you're doing okay with saving money on home and auto. If you haven't thought about your car insurance, you haven't thought about your home insurance in a long time, you're probably lighting some money on fire. Not ideal. Save money. Contact Matt Davis over at insuregarner.com or call him directly at 919-779-8277. And he can also help you financially plan as well. You don't want to find yourself in the situation that North Carolina potentially finds itself in, saying, but we need all this money for things. Where am I going to get this money from? Well, you got to think ahead. You got to think right about your money. And that's something that Matt Davis can help you with. Big thanks. Speaking of homes, big thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. We're supposed to speak to an agent appreciation event on Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got your speech ready? Wolf of Wall Street, this thing?
Let's do it.
Are you going to talk mad game and then go watch this drive while we're at the Drive Shack? Now watch this drive.
George W. Wow.
You do that? You go out there, you buy and sell homes, you do right by the customers. Now watch this drive. You can do that? Please do that.
Okay.
I won't, because nobody wants to watch me drive. But no, big thanks to Hometown Realty. They've been helping us out. We're going to be helping them, and they can help you buying and selling your home. Check them out online at myhtr.com. Are you okay over there? Okay, you're back. And of course, our friends at Bloom and Blinds, who knows? We could be in After Dark protocols tonight, for all we know, with the Hubert Davis stuff. We don't know. I mean, clearly, we just got to go live when this thing eventually happens, based on all the reporting. And speaking of which, so I don't think I'm giving away too much here, but recently a house sold in our neighborhood, in our backyard area, and we got all these market lights in the backyard that we put up during peak pandemic time, and it gets pretty bright back there. And they haven't put up any blinds, and I think they put some makeshift stuff up so that the lights weren't coming in. And I so badly just want to leave a Bloom and Blinds card for them. It's like, why are you putting these up? Don't do this. Get Bloom and Blinds to do it. And get right. You get true blackout curtains so the market lights don't bother you. So hit them up, 919-980-9815, or hit bloominblinds.com. Again, that's bloomin, I-N, blinds.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from the News and Observer, Shelby Swanson covers the Tar Heels. And are we covering a coaching change? What are we doing here, Shelby?
It's very likely. I can't say that definitively, but
we can say definitively that there will be no Hubert Davis live tonight. Jones.
Well, we know that now.
Yeah, we know that now.
Obviously, is not a good sign. That making the rounds last night. Also, notably, Hubert Davis' son Elijah wiping any mention of UNC from his Instagram as well. Again, that's just little things, but yeah, I mean, based on what I'm assuming you guys are hearing, what a lot of folks are reading, same things I'm hearing. It's more of a when, not if issue, and it's also a matter of treating somebody like Hubert Davis, right, former player, assistant, member of that Carolina family, with respect, and you want to take time with things like this. You want to make sure you can make it as amicable as possible in terms of, hey, can we reach maybe a mutual agreement, a resignation, as opposed to a firing. But certainly, all signs point towards there being a pretty historic coaching change and coaching search underway at UNC.
All right. Before we get to those mechanics, because I do have some questions about that. Joe and I already spoke on how we thought we got to this point. For me, if you wanted to oversimplify it, it's not so much blowing a 19-point lead. It was how Hubert Davis handled blowing a 19-point lead, including that press conference at the end. And we're 3-4 weeks ago. This isn't really a discussion. But after Thursday night, it is a discussion. So what, in your opinion, or how you've been talking to people, what ultimately flipped this on Hubert Davis?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, there were still – well, I mean, I'll start here. It is really interesting. I'm probably going to do a story on this at some point. But think about the mood on March 5th, right? 2 days ahead of that second matchup against Duke. You're thinking – Caleb Wilson's coming back. You're thinking maybe can they sweep Duke? Unlikely, but it's a possibility with him on the floor. Then obviously he breaks his thumb, and then they have a pretty historic stretch of those 3 straight losses too in the season, and you wind up here. Again, I don't think it's necessarily the loss, and I don't think it's even a matter of considering the injuries and unforeseen things, them not making a Sweet 16. I don't think people necessarily expected UNC to beat, Illinois, that being the likely next round matchup. But I think it's more so you have a historic, comeback for VCU, 19 points down in the second half. It's, largest comeback in an NCAA tournament game since 2018, largest comeback in a first round game in NCAA tournament history. And it's also the fact that, there were little to no adjustments down that entire stretch. I had, talking with a former player, just texting back and forth. That was basically their takeaway was there were no adjustments down the stretch. playing 6 guys, after halftime. I think 4 starters logging basically 25 straight minutes. You have the that out of bounds play under the basket in front of your bench, 5-second violation, don't call a timeout. And then on top of this, and I think I reported this in my story on Saturday, but I had a source tell me that the post-game press conference following the VCU loss, quote, really put the nail in the coffin for many prominent donors. I think just the fact that, and it's nothing that's that surprising from just a media standpoint, having, worked with Hubert Davis from a media standpoint for many years. And again, all the things you hear about him, really nice guy, very true. But he can kind of get in that mode where he's not interested in, explaining himself, diving into, rationale behind decisions, very buttoned up. And I think that's really bit him after this game where, again, second first-round exits in, back-to-back years, a lot of donors who he doesn't really maybe have a lot of FaceTime with, even behind the scenes. Like, this is their forum for connecting with him and trying to get a sense of why he made certain decisions, and hearing some sort of rationale or some sort of logic, or even a look, it's on me, my bad, after the game. And he didn't really give any of that. Again, that's not really his style anyways. So I don't think it should be all that surprising, but I think that's what really hits a lot of folks. And again, now in today's day and age, and you guys know this, that donor support is crucial for recruiting in the portal, which opens up on April 7th. So if you don't have the confidence that donors are going to be able to galvanize and fundraise to, help fund next year's roster, I mean, that's really, really important.
I think the portal plus minus has worked against him too. Like I don't blame any of the players. I don't blame him for any of the players who didn't work out at Carolina, including Elliot Cadeau. But it's impossible to ignore the success that his former players have had, and the Tyson kid's the only one who didn't make the tournament. You got a bunch of kids in this.
And he was still the highest scoring.
Right. He still balled out.
Right. He balled out.
Right.
He was completely inept at Carolina. The portal plus minus has been working against him. The inconsistencies overall are the biggest problem working against him as well. But you're right about where the money comes from now. And it's interesting, Shelby. Tell us your age again.
22.
So you were 16 or 17 when Roy retired.
Well, that was 21, right? So, I mean, I was maybe 18?
Okay. It was 5 years ago. April, 5 years ago.
Wait, no, 17. You're right, 17.
Yeah.
It was like my senior year of.
So whoever your friends were, or whatever circle you were in, and I remember Bubba Cunningham saying this, to a man, every former player, not just Roy Williams, but every former player wanted Hubert Davis to be the coach. Every one of them.
Yep.
That's what they saw as basically like, this is how we do it. Do you get any sense, Shelby, from the players now that you know, or some of the former players that you know now, that anyone is resistant to the fact that this hire is going to have to come from outside the family?
I haven't heard resistance, because also, I mean, there's this sense of, and while I haven't talked explicitly about that topic too much, it's more been a focus of just, the matter at hand of, the decision around Hubert, which is becoming increasingly clear. But I'm not hearing any resistance. And I think a big part of it too is who would that Carolina family pick be?
Yeah.
There's no obvious name.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main rationale for that. I would also say really quickly, just kind of going back to the point we were talking about earlier in terms of, the roster hits and misses. Another thing that you have to consider with, only playing 6 guys after halftime in that VCU loss, how much money was spent on those guys that sat on the bench. Right. And sorry, I'm gonna have to kill my Slack notifications, but
well, I mean, if it's an important Slack notification, I mean,
it's
okay.
It's just Ethan. Sorry, shout out Ethan Hyman. But no, but I mean, think about like if you're a donor that helped shell out, a couple million for Kyan Evans. Again, I'm just speaking theoretically, but and you see that he doesn't play the entire second half or overtime period, that's going to sit that's not going to sit well. And so I think part of it too is and some of these issues
and the misses. Yeah, it's not only seeing the players that are excelling elsewhere, it's seeing the choices that you made with your own roster.
Yeah.
Vesser was obviously a home run, but some of these other guys, it was like, well, you chose these over ... right? And then you could probably even look at Van Allen Lubin and say, boy, he would have been really nice for him to be our third banana right now. Like that probably would have helped us while Caleb Wilson was on walkabout. So I get it. This whole thing is just turned so quickly on Hubert from, even on our show, us seeing like, hey, actually, he's done a really good job this year, given all the factors and all the moving parts.
Yeah.
But then that's where it just kind of blows up on him is when he goes, it resorts back to the inconsistencies, not only from, game to game, or season to season, but within each game. Like the Clemson and VCU games, just the maddening inconsistencies within those two games honestly are enough to take one step back and look at the 5-year picture and go, he's got to go.
Yeah. He opened the door. He opened the door to do a holistic view of the program since he's gotten there. All right, Shelby, before we say goodbye, because today there's only so much I want to spend on today because we don't know, right? We every indication seems to be that they're going to move on from Hubert Davis. This gets to the mechanics. This is what I wanted to close on. And I feel like they're trying to thread the needle again, like they tried to do with Mac Brown, right? There was this whole thing with Mac Brown where Bubba Cunningham wanted to give him the grace that he deserved, but Mac didn't want to play that game.
Right.
And we ended up having things get a little, it aired out some dirty laundry. That's how we started to really know who John Pryor was before it was all said and done. Like
John Pryor pulling my colleague Chip Alexander, to the side during a
right. We knew who John Pryor was before that because he had some weird vendetta against Bubba Cunningham. But then we really knew who John Pryor was after the Mac Brown lead up to him being let go. So the mechanics have been attempted before. The key participant in that didn't want to play it.
That's all finances, by the way.
It's all finances.
Because if Mac retires, then you don't owe him anything.
Exactly.
But he's like, hey, buddy, I got 4 years left on this deal. You're going to pay me.
You can negotiate these things. So that's what we get to with Hubert Davis. How are they going to avoid that happening again with Hubert Davis, understanding that Hubert and Mac Brown are not the same guy in how they go about these things? They operate completely different. And also it's different sports, and Hubert having a little bit more of a understanding of the basketball family and what it means that the program's bigger than you.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, again, just based on what I'm hearing, is trying to, as I said, I think previously, negotiate some sort of mutual, departure here, a resignation. Again, all signs pointing to there being a new coach in Chapel Hill next season. You want to treat somebody, again, that is in that Carolina, family and has all the history as a player, former assistant, now the coach for the 5 past seasons. You want to show and treat him with that sense of dignity, respect, and obviously for him, but also for the rest of the Carolina family, for Roy, who, basically handpicked this guy to come after him. So that's, again, everything I'm hearing is it's just working towards, can we, reach some sort of, I want to say pleasing from like a PR and kind of like public standpoint, resignation. But again, I think something too to keep in mind, talking about how, Mac and Hubert operate differently. Both are, to a certain extent, kind of stubborn people inherently. And I'm not saying that
you kind of have to be a head coach. Roy was stubborn in his own way, too.
Exactly. And I mean, it can be a strength. It can be a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that in any positive or negative way. It's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are, somebody that's kind of sitting here and looking at your resume, like, look, I'm speaking theoretically here, but also just kind of informed about like being around the program and just conversations we've had on background, things like that. He's probably sitting here looking at his resume like, look, I just had this generational pro prospect that missed his last 9 games with, a freak injury, navigated injuries to him, Vasar, Seth Trimble, and also I'm the first ACC coach in history to earn, 20 wins in each of his first 5 years. And again, certainly like Shire is going to join him in that, right? But I'm sure there's also part of him that's, sitting there and looking at that resume like, guys, come on, so we'll see. Again, I think it's still a matter of when, not if, and the only if being, okay, how can we, reach an agreement that is kind of respect, like the last thing that you want to do is have to fire Hubert. And I think the only reason that would happen is they make this determination and, for some reason he doesn't want to take the resignation. So
I guess the last thing is there's no scenario with, say, changes to the coaching staff, which there's a separate conversation as to whether or not Hubert Davis should have been ahead of that and made some changes to the coaching staff last year. That's the time to do it. But is there some sort of scenario where there's an agreed upon thing of, all right, I will make some changes to the coaching staff. It won't just be Carolina guys, which is a thing from his introductory press conference that is biting him in the ass, obviously. There's no scenario like that from what you've picked up on?
I mean, I think there is. I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
But there is. But then there's also the issue of, do the donors believe that he listens to his coaching staff?
It sounds to me
that's something that and again, I'm not saying that I agree with that, but that is a concern that I've heard from that side. And so again, we'll see. But I mean, I think that's not a crazy scenario. I think it is a possibility, but that would take, I think, a lot of convincing on the donor side, and I don't find it likely at this point. But it is possible.
I'm with you on that. Shelby Swanson, News and Observer, we appreciate it. It's going to be an interesting day, interesting week as this thing gets played out. We will talk to you later. What's the budget to go to Finland?
What will we do there?
Go watch the Carolina Hurricanes take on the Seattle Kraken in November.
Oh,
yeah, they're
going to announced.
Yeah, they just announced it. They will be going to Finland in November to do the Global Series on November 12th and the 14th.
This requires me having a passport, right?
You got plenty of time between now and then to get a passport. Tickets go on sale Tuesday, March 31st.
I don't think my guy, the Swede, doesn't speak Finnish. I think we would need a translator.
That's the thing. Wasn't Luke working on his Finnish?
Finnish, yeah.
You want to bring Luke along?
To Finland?
Anyway, so yeah, that got announced today. The games will be played at noon Eastern time, 7 p.m. local time.
Well, there's the breaking news you were waiting for.
What's that?
Wes Miller hired
Yeah, I saw that.
by an in-state school.
Charlotte, yeah.
Charlotte.
He'll be at Charlotte. I was going to say, you got Jared Haas, who was hired at Greensboro last week, too.
It's all coming up Carolina.
It really is. It really is. They run this state, don't they? Except that a Carolina guy or a Roy Williams guy won't be the next coach at Carolina, ironically enough. Much like Duke, there's probably an off-season protocol related to princes that were promised.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the former assistants that were just biding their time before they came back and took over for the legend. You know, Johnny Dawkins was supposed to off to Stanford. Didn't necessarily work out. Heck, Jeff Capel didn't necessarily work out. Didn't work out that way. And of course, Wes Miller is definitely on the list of the, oh man, just wait. Go hire Wes Miller right now. He's had, 3 different jobs since?
Yeah, this is his third.
He was at Greensboro,
Cincinnati,
and then now Charlotte. So yeah, that's a lot of time has happened between then. Anyway, speaking of the Carolina Hurricanes, I don't know what the Pittsburgh Penguins did to them at some point in the last year, but they have absolutely destroyed Pittsburgh every time they see them in the regular season. 3 for 3 on the power play. I want to say that Pittsburgh only had 12 shots on goal in yesterday's game up until later at the end when things kind of got a little out of hand. But yeah, 5-1 win was the final. Thankfully, we're not doing ups and downs with the Canes. Let's just get to this thing healthy. One thing I would add about this, I need to see Seth
closer, right?
We are getting closer. One thing I need to see less of, I don't want to see Seth Jarvis fighting anymore. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You just brought on Nick Delorier. Let him do that. Okay, Seth? We need you healthy. Don't get your clock clean, please. Don't need to be seeing that. Thank you.
There are many topics for lightning round today on OMG.
As you mentioned, Wes Miller to Charlotte. Jared Haas got hired by UNC Greensboro. Jerry McNamara, he's officially going to Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. Although there was some reporting that Jerry McNamara was not the fallback guy with the South Florida coach going to Providence. Mm-hmm. The South Florida coach was the dude that most people thought Syracuse would go after. He took his name out. Now he's at Providence with a 5-year deal. LSU still hasn't fired their coach yet.
Not yet. Matt McMahon's still their coach.
So that evaporated pretty quick, right? Everybody was hot and heavy over the Will Wade LSU rumors there for the last 2 months. That's gone away. That's done. It's evaporated.
I mean, I think Will has addressed it. It's interesting, though. If they don't fire him, aren't you now just spending the year watching LSU, who will just eventually fire him next year?
We're in the Jeremy Foley protocols? Why are you holding off on this?
Right.
Well, I think it gets back to the other aspect of the whole LSU thing in that, much like Carolina and the financial strains, I think, isn't LSU paying 3 different coaches right now on top of Lane Kiffin?
Right. So if you fired him and you don't get your first choice, which would be Will, why not just let him coach the year out? Because what do you really care about basketball anyway?
Do we have to do this again next season?
I believe so, yes. I wouldn't say evaporate. I think it's just... But if they fire him, then Will's already told him I'm not coming, and then they're going to go find another coach.
Okay.
So there's your subtext to kind of read into.
Fair enough.
If they don't fire him, then they're waiting.
Fair enough. Speaking of jobs that could potentially be open, let's read into Bill Self after they got knocked out yesterday.
Given what you've gone through on and off the court, how much time will you take to reflect upon what is next on this stage of your career?
Well, I haven't really gone through much on the court. I've gone through some stuff off the court, so I'll get back and get with family and visit and see what's going on. I love what I do. I need to be able to do it where I'm feeling good and healthy to do it, fairly well. So I'll get back home and it'll all be discussed.
Michael Swain, 24/7 Sports. You talked a lot about the physicality going into this game. How do you feel like your team?
So that was Bill Self after they got knocked out.
Yeah, remember they bought Jacques Vaughn in from the NBA last year to be what you would think would be a type of Hubert Davis coach in waiting situation where I believe he will be their next coach.
Okay.
And for the next season.
One other thing. Do we feel bad for Herb Sendek?
That was the single most predictable outcome in the history of basketball.
Maybe it was an NC State shit all along. Maybe it was just, this is what happens to Herb Sendek.
Poor Herb was a young assistant at Kentucky when Christian Laettner hit a shot against them, the most memorable shot in the history of this tournament. He was an assistant on that team. Pick any of the NC State heartbreaks. You have your choice.
You have any number.
Pick any.
Choices.
And then now this exit where Owe hits this runner.
Yeah.
Where you're like, wow, not once did I say Santa Clara is about to do this. Not once. You can check my text because everyone's like, man, are you sure?
It's not coming home.
Like, sir, let me just explain to you how this is going to end. Now, I did not have a bank 3-pointer at the end of regulation on my bingo card.
Come on now. And of course, Herb's mad because he says he called a timeout.
He did call a timeout. They just flat out ignored him.
You might have been trying to get a timeout in the final seconds. So walk us through kind of that end of game sequence on your end and what communication you might have had with the officiating crew in those last few seconds.
Well, I unequivocally called timeout, but they didn't grant it. I mean, I think the video evidence is clear and anybody's able to pull it up, which, is a likely response after Allen hits the 3 that the coach would be calling timeout to set the defense, which I tried to do and I was successful in doing, other than it wasn't acknowledged or recognized. And so that's what happened.
Looked like you.
Well, that is some classic.
I was transported
some classic. Like Herb, doesn't matter that you lost. Well, Buddha says.
He's so zen.
I unequivocally.
Here's the problem, though. And this was called out by Bruce Pearl and others. Kentucky got the ball back. Kentucky had the ball in possession. So therefore, you couldn't call timeout.
They moved pretty quickly.
They moved pretty quickly, and you can't call the timeout when you don't have the ball in possession.
He was calling the timeout to the wrong official.
There was
that
that
official
too.
was running away.
There is that too.
He needed to turn to his right.
Yeah.
And call to that.
Listen, I feel like there's a life coach segment in here about possession, who's the right coach, who's the right official you got to be chasing down, all that kind of stuff in relation to that timeout.
I would say I feel bad for her, but I don't in this very specific sense.
I know.
That is his lot in life. And you could tell by his own reaction, he has accepted this is what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad life if you think about it.
Yeah.
Lives out in Santa Clara, makes a decent living. Nobody bothers him.
Yeah.
Makes the tournament once every 15 years. It's great.
Good living. Good living if you can get it. Big thanks to our friends at the Butcher's Market. You can check them out online at thebutchersmarkets.com. They got grab and go individual lunches and dinners. They've got grab and go frozen full meals for the entire family. They've got sides. They've got a great wine selection. They've got beer. They have exotic. They got everything at the Butcher's Market.
Mm-hmm.
So don't waste time. Head on over. Check out their wares. It's all fantastic stuff. And they got locations all across the triangle. So check out thebutchersmarkets.com. Also, big thanks to our guy, Chris Brassfield. We are in crunch time. No, we're not talking about crunch time for coaching searches and hires and everything else. We're talking about your taxes. So hit him up, brassfieldaccounting.com. Not only is he going to do the personal taxes for OG listeners and OG listeners only, you got to think about some big picture things. Perhaps you are a small business owner. Perhaps you are in the world of government grants and there's a lot of tricky paperwork. Maybe there's even some HR matters that are you just don't have the bandwidth for. This is something that Brassfield can do as a fractional CFO. So contact him today at brassfieldaccounting.com. Again, that's brassfieldaccounting.com. The pollen is out. The bees are out.
The bees are in the trap.
Bees are in the trap. You want to make sure the mosquitoes aren't out, though. That's the thing. Bees are going to do their job. Mosquitoes, though, you don't want to deal with that crap. So hit up bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority are going to help you out with that.
Always a win to get Mosquito Authority on your side, take care of you, help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Big win for this program. The Duke game on Friday is at 7:00.
Yeah.
My sleep patterns are so far askew right now that if it was like a 9:30 game,
no, we're good.
7:00 on Friday.
Now I might be a few deep for that.
That's fine
on a Friday night because I'll probably be hanging out in the backyard on Friday night. It's supposed to be nice.
Smart.
Probably be drinking some bourbon with neighbor Rick. So we'll see how things go on Friday night for the After Dark. And I'll be enjoying being outside thanks to our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. So check them out online at bugsbite.com. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. I did not screen these OG Sports phone calls. I just ripped a bunch from the Google Voice. We'll see what we got here.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to a 910.
Guys, Justin here from Laurinburg. The ghost of Coach K lives on for Carolina after the Hubert Davis win over the Tar Heels in 22, and they got to gloat for about 40 hours until the national championship collapse. It's been nothing but misery for the Tar Heels, except for the Trimble 3 at the Dean Dome a couple of months back. The Red Sox traded Babe Ruth and suffered for 80-something years. And the Tar Heels, they have the curse of Coach K. How long will that last? Appreciate what you guys do. Keep it up.
This is this has been something that has been workshopped since 2022. Once we got away from the hysteria of seeing the thing that nobody really wanted to see, Carolina and Duke in a Final Four situation. Now, I do think if Carolina goes on to win the national championship that year, if they don't have the largest blown lead in NCAA championship history against Kansas that year, that we're having a separate conversation, and it truly was the argument ender, the true argument ender. But it did not work out that way. It did not work out that way. And I've heard from a couple of Carolina people in my life in passing, just joking, yeah, I am starting to regret what I asked God that day. I am starting to regret, like, man, I won't ask for a thing ever again if they just knock Duke out in this situation. Just give me this. And he did. He did. But there's a little bit of a monkey's paw situation unfolding in that, yeah, you got it, but at what cost? And that cost has been kind of freeing things up for John Shire to take over and setting the table for Hubert Davis in a way that was going to be very, very hard to replicate. You can't knock Coach K out of his career every year. It's a one-off thing. And he happened to do it right out of the gate, which, of course, gets us to forever grateful with Hubert Davis. Let's go to 336.
Yeah, so I have a question for the people who still defend Hubert. I don't understand how. And I see y'all on the internet, and frankly, Joe and Joe, y'all seem to be in this camp. At what point is it his fault? If you're still defending him, what would it take for you to not? What would genuinely? I don't understand. What will it take for y'all to not stand by him anymore and to get with the rest of us that see he's not the right fit? He's not the coach that we need. He's not going to get the job done. Where's the line in the sand for you guys? I want to know. I want to know what y'all see. Please tell me. Thanks, guys.
Well, I think as we said at the start of the show today, and maybe we didn't spend enough time kind of talking about how we got here. And trust me, we got all week to discuss these types of things. But you got to remember where we were 3 weeks ago. Okay, like I can't stress this enough. 3 weeks ago, we're not having this conversation. 3 weeks ago, it's just kind of chalked up to, hey, man. Even let's throw in the Caleb Wilson injury on top of that, right? Let's just throw that in there. Let's get away from the week leading up to the Duke game, regular season finale. Even with the Caleb Wilson injury, you had seen a team that had been able to cobble some things together. You got to pick your team up after that and say, hey, man, we built to this point before him and we can do it after this, right? Before him coming back, and we can do it again. And instead, what you saw was the bottom fall out. And like I said earlier, you saw all the cracks or the warts or the deficiencies of Hubert Davis throughout his tenure. You talk about the ups and the downs. To me, I really do think the point where it flipped for him was you started to see where the accountability wasn't there, right? In a public-facing situation. and almost like looking shook beyond just, hey, man, you're stunned by what happened. But even something as simple as that's on me goes a long way. That goes a long way.
I defended Hubert all year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I defended him through the West Coast losses to Stanford and Cal this year. I honestly think starting with the Miami game with his messaging when asked about Caleb Wilson's injury, you know, it was a very specific question from R.L. Bonham. Well, and he said, what's the situation?
Right.
It's
that
Caleb
kind of
Wilson's
stuff.
hand. And he goes, what situation?
Right.
There's no situation.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then Andrew Jones asking, what about a hangover? What hangover?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That stuff doesn't help.
And it's like, you have that. Then you have the injury that puts Caleb out. Then you have a win over Pitt, which I totally and completely predicted.
Yep.
Then you have the NC State game. Sure enough, you're missing 2 guys, but that doesn't explain how your team played or didn't play. And you took Zayden High was the one who was like, hey, like that was not acceptable. Like no matter who plays for us, you got to play at a different level.
Yeah.
And as NC State people pointed out to me after that game in Raleigh, you've been here when, 2010 NIT Carolina comes over here, beats us.
Yeah.
You've been here when Carrison Brooks is their best player and Cole Anthony's hurt and they come over here and they beat us. Like they've been missing guys before and come over here and beat us.
It not matter.
They did not show up for the basketball game. Fair enough. I think they got themselves excited thinking about Caleb Wilson being back.
That's fair.
I think Hubert did a really good job against Louisville and Clemson in particular to beat those teams the way that he did.
But then you look back on that Louisville game. That gets back to your thing about the inconsistencies within the game. We forget that they were cruising until they weren't.
Right.
So,
and I think I'm not even thinking about the Duke game in Cameron. Throw
that one out.
Doesn't matter. These last 2 games have really become an illustration about his inconsistencies. And it's one thing to be inconsistent from season to season, which I defended last year. I did. I'm fine with that. Everyone tried to tell me, you don't understand our standard. Okay. I am open to the fact that I view your team through the lens of my own experience of covering NC State. And being in the Final Four, winning the ACC, being a number 1 seed, being in the Sweet 16, to me, over Hubert's first 4 years, outweighed missing the tournament in 23, and then last year losing to Ole Miss in the round of 64. But when you have the exit, you add up the Miami game, the State game, and then the Clemson and VCU games. It's not just the inconsistencies within those games. It now becomes the inconsistencies of his entire tenure.
Yeah.
And it becomes this idea of, it's 5 years now too. This is not 1 year. This isn't 2 years.
Yeah.
I think the 2 years of grace that he was given is the last 2 years. I think last year that he was given a year of grace for the missing the tournament in 23.
Last year was the grace. I'll agree with you.
And I think this year ultimately ended up becoming, you have to show us that you're more than just a team that loses in the round of 64. And not only losing in the round of 64, but then losing in the way that he did. And not only that, which we haven't said it yet on this program today, nothing happens in the triangle in a vacuum.
Yeah, everything that's going on with Duke is clearly tied to this.
Obvious that Duke has left them behind.
So
right down, Joe, to their celebration in beating Duke and storming the court, because I've seen them beat Duke many a time. And not once had I seen them say, you know what? We should now celebrating on Franklin Street is different than storming the court. You understand the difference?
Yes.
So right down to the fact that you're so far behind Duke. And yes, it was this great shot by Seth Trimble, but you guys were like, hey, let's get out there and rush the court for beating Duke.
There's a lot
That's
of
an admission.
There's a lot of NC State
energy. Yeah, it's huge.
To Carolina energy going on from Carolina to Duke energy. I know that pisses some people off, but that's the thing that happens. To your point about grace, this is where I will slightly disagree. He was given grace last year. He was set up this season, make or break.
Yes.
If he played the game, you cannot budge me off this point. If he did a better job playing the game, being better with the media, being better with the boosters, as we're coming to find out, there was a little bit of hard time with the schmoozing that has taken place as again, all these things start to come out when it's time for somebody to go. If they did a better job of that, or if he did a better job of that, I think he's still a head coach today. Like I think he's coming back next season, maybe with some staff changes, and that's where your next part of the grace comes in. But because he didn't, that's why he's not getting the grace right now. You got to play the game. 239.
That was the herbiest herb shit that has ever heard. Holy fuck.
Y'all see it? It's like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You're Leo DiCaprio. I see it. There it is. Let's go 336.
Hey, this is Nate from Asheboro, North Carolina, calling about the Hubert Davis saga. Wanted to see if y'all think that they might be hanging on to him because they foresee firing Bill at the end of the football season, and they can't afford to fire both. Thanks. Bye.
There's different buyouts, obviously. You have to separate the two.
I actually think this gets back to whose decision was it to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
It's Lee Roberts and Steve Newmark.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't view where Bill is the same way that the rest of the world views where Bill is.
No, that's a mistake then.
But that's how they view it.
Because they're going to be worse this year. So you're basically...
They could be.
No, they're going to be worse this year.
Their schedule is definitely more difficult this year than it was last year.
Based on all of the recruiting stuff and the transfer stuff coming out, I think it's going to be a very instructive spring for Carolina. Let's put it that way.
Let's hope it's more productive than last year when they just made more wholesale changes and got nothing out of the spring. What I'm getting at is they're just in their heads, it's their decision, and they don't view it the same way that most people do view it.
Yeah.
I think they view it as it's a 3-year project.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the head coach in year 3. And then if they have to do something after year 3, they'll do something.
They'll do it then. Well, be interesting. I think ain't nobody showing up to Keenan. I know that. Let's go to a 404.
Hey, it's Andy in Annapolis. And I'm with Giglio on the whole UVA thing. I don't care if UVA advanced or not. I don't care how many teams the ACC has in the Sweet 16. If NC State's not there, I don't care. But the whole coach's challenge thing, just get rid of it. If you can't tell a guy who's standing completely by himself, unobstructed, and a ball unobstructed touches him or not, with all the cameras that are at a round of 32 game in the NCAA tournament, it's worthless technology. It's worthless to have it. All it does is slow down the game. College basketball has got worse with replays. Just chuck it, because if you can't get a definitive view on that guy, that completely wide open from every single angle possible, it's crap. Just get rid of it. Thanks.
I mean, you can make that argument about replay as a whole.
Yeah, that's not really what you mean, though. I mean, the ESPN did a 30 for 30 on the guy who had the perfect game, and they screwed up on the calling the guy out at first base.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that. That's not the end game scenario that you want. You just have to live with the faults of replay. Plus, not only that, thanks to the BYU honor system, the guy came out and said, I touched the ball.
What reality would you rather live with? The game getting slower and even getting these things incorrect with replay, or just chalking it up to human error?
No, you have to have the ability to get the call right. You have to have that ability. You can't just punt on using technology. That's just, the world doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and unfortunately we have gambling too, which plays into all of this. Let's go to a 919.
Hello, G. Calling in again, 7:41 p.m. John Shire played his ass off for Duke. Coaching his ass off for Duke. This could be a summer protocol topic about the players that become coaches and go back to their alma mater, and the frankly low percentages how that goes, basketball and football. Certainly what comes into my mind is Scott Frost at Nebraska in football. And I know this is supposed to be triangle based, but That could be a very interesting topic. Right now, everybody's ripping Hubert a new one. Well, Hubert retired K. I know it's been a mixed bag of doom as far as that goes, but he retired K. Thank you as always. Have a good weekend.
Kurt's having a few on a Sunday, you think? Maybe. We're going to save that. That's good summer protocol as far as the whole, like, well, he ended Coach K. That's right. He ended Coach K. He will always have that. He will always have that. Let's do one more, then we'll get out of here.
Forever grateful. Forever grateful for Hubert Davis. Well, looking more and more like he's gone. And are we at the point where we can share some potential names for his replacement? One I like is the Mark Byington. Is that how you pronounce his name? From Vanderbilt. Great offensive mind. The guy can coach, not gimmicky. Also, I think would play well with administrators and the culture there at UNC. And I would suspect you wouldn't have a huge buyout like you might with some of the names that I'm certain are on the list. And that's consideration, right? They've already dumped a shit ton of money into the football program. So, anyway, love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think we covered that earlier in relation to who Joe thinks they should hire. We've got 252 that says they should just hire Rod Brindamore as the new coach.
I like it.
It's like maybe he could even
That'd
get
be
him to do
different.
football too. That would certainly be different. Certainly be different.
Although then we wouldn't have the Hurricanes.
No, we
Without
wouldn't.
Rod Brindamore.
Well, maybe Coach K comes out of retirement and maybe there's a swap. Like, all right, I'm going to try my hand at hockey. You try basketball. What do you think? And they can help each other out. Although Rod would be at Carolina and Coach K doesn't want to help Carolina out. You see what? Yeah, so that wouldn't make sense. Workshopping that live in my brain, there's no way to make that work. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. It's probably outdated by the time you're hearing it, but you know what? Can't do anything about
We're
that.
doing our best.
Well, and before
Tell me, future boy.
and before you even say it, well, this is probably what you miss about radio. No, actually, it's not, because I've done plenty of shows in my radio days where within 15 minutes of signing off, guess we'll talk about it tomorrow because it's over now. The beauty of the podcast is we can go live whenever we want. We'll see if that happens later today. Otherwise, we'll just see you for a normal show tomorrow where Roy Cooper's going to join us. Think he has thoughts?
Okay, so what you're telling me is
get hammered tonight.
To not drink anything.
No, get hammered tonight. We got better tonight. That's what I want. I need you.
I think my juices flow all the time.
I need that liquor flow.
I think my juices flow all the time.
So that you could be on the floor hungover for when Roy Cooper hangs out with us tomorrow. All right, we'll see you then.